shift the perspective, rewrite that inner story that we might have still from the past. And often those stories that we tell ourselves, they are limiting.
Welcome to the Phase 4 podcast, inspired by Vishen Lakhiani and Ajit Nawalkar, co-founders of EverCoach, a division of Vine Valley. In this podcast, we speak to coaches and creatives about where they were, where they are, and where they are going. This is an intersection of what we focus on expands, and your story is your superpower. Today we got a special guest. Dr. Katja Rusanen has such a great resume that I have to read it. I never usually do this, but as I was researching her, it was so inspiring. I was like, I didn't realize that these are actual things that someone could do. This is right up my alley, close to my heart. I know a lot of the listeners will love it and maybe don't even know. So that's why I'm not trying to embarrass you. I want to read some of these qualifications. So she has a doctorate in spiritual science from Peace Theological Seminary. She has a master's degree in spiritual science. She has an ordained minister of the Church of the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness, certified instant miracle master, certified big money business coach, certified soul transformation therapy, Reiki, holistic healing, soul plan practitioner, and like all certified spiritual coach from another place. But all of these things, some of them I didn't even know existed. And I'm like, you can get a master's in that? Now I'm like, that's where I'm looking to go next, maybe. But Dr. Katja, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And yes, there was a time I didn't know that I can get a doctorate in spiritual science, but yes, that is a degree, and it has been a beautiful learning journey for me. It took some time. It took my study journey for the doctorate took altogether 2 masters and 5 years of doctorate study, so 9 years altogether. So it was a long journey, but worth it.
Yeah, you definitely are qualified. I think I kind of always begin with just even though I told everything there, but tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you kind of come towards this work or this idea?
Absolutely. So let me take you back to one spring when I was 16. It was like beginning of the sweet 16. Maybe you remember as well your first love and the magic that happens. Like all of a sudden, the world is such a much more beautiful than it was before. And this all happened in a small village in Finland. So if you wondered where this accent is from, I come from Finland. And I fell in love for the first time. And it was just really magical. I felt this bubbling happiness when we were together. But then my love story didn't have the happily ever after, as many stories do. But mine ended very suddenly when my mom shared the news that my boyfriend had died by suicide. And that moment, I felt like part of me died as well, that very moment when I heard the news. And the grief was so overwhelming. I didn't really know how to handle it. But I started having this question, why? And I think that's a question so many people who are left behind, like if they lose somebody to suicide, they ask that question, why? And other challenges as well. That's a question many of us ask in one point or another in our lives. And I started going through every moment that I could remember, every word, and I was looking for signs and explanation that would help me to understand. Because I just felt that I should have saved him. I'm intuitive. I was like, how didn't I see that coming? How didn't I see the signs? How didn't I be able to stop him and help him to choose life? And that made me then feel that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't I wasn't attentive enough, attractive enough. All these things, what I told myself put me into a very dark place for a long time.
Yeah.
So, so dark that I almost followed his footsteps.
Oh man.
Luckily, there was a gift of grace that helped to bring some light into my dark mind. And that gift of grace helped me to choose life. And
Yeah.
that's my healing journey through the grief, trauma, and darkness. So that also put me on this path to seek answers through spirituality because I couldn't find them elsewhere.
Right. So you said 16 years old. That must be so difficult because at that age, like you probably are feeling guilty. You may be thinking it's your fault or you did something. And that's a really difficult thing to sit with. And so what was that grace, or like was it one thing that just happened, like a aha, or it was just a bunch of work that you had to do on yourself?
The gift of grace that I received was a reminder. I have an angel brother who died by accident 2 years before I was born. And I always wanted to have a big brother. I always felt like having a big brother would be there for me, protect me, support me. And in that very dark moment when I was about to give up this life, I got a memory of him, like the feeling, the presence of that love. And that love really reminded me of the love that my parents had for me. And that love pulled me. It was like the love was pulling me to choose life. And I was like, okay, I'm going through this grief and suffering, but I don't want to put it to anybody else because I didn't want that my parents would lose another child. I felt that that would kill them too. So I was like, okay, I got to get through this. I got to choose life.
Thank you for doing that, because now we're having this conversation. So that's the amount of people you can touch with your story and help impact. And maybe if you take one person down off a ledge, that's, to me, that's kind of all worth it. So sharing your story is important. And I know that you said there was a time when you couldn't do it. Have you ever heard of Lisa Nichols?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, she tells this thing about our story, right? Because we all have different traumas, but she says, picture like a cake. And sometimes if the cake is still in the oven and you go to take it out, you get burned. And even if the cake is ready to come out of the oven, it's still going to be hot. And so what we have to do is kind of let the cake cool down, and then we can come back. And that's the story, is like you need to get separated. I always picture like an alcoholic talking about how he quit drinking one day after he quit drinking. And it's like you're still too close to that story. So I'm glad you took time to grieve it and do all that. And now that you're on the other side, now you can share it. And the goal, I think, is to help other people with the impact through your story.
Absolutely. And just showing, because there was days when I couldn't even dream the life that I have now, the feeling of joy of living again. I didn't even think that it was possible. And just to sharing, like there, I totally agree that it was a great metaphor that you shared, because there is time as well in our healing journey that we might feel that life happened to us. That's what I say to my clients. Like, if you feel life happened to us, that's the healing journey. But when you start seeing that life happened for us, that's when you are ready to start sharing, because it comes from a different place. So sharing can be sharing for healing purposes in a safe container, maybe with the therapist or coach or somebody who can support you, or friends if they are, they can be there for you too. And then there comes a time when you find the courage to share openly. And for me, it was a learning journey as well there. Like I shared before this interview, it took me 10 years to even talk about it. 10 years I wasn't ready. I was hiding the whole chapter. Like when I met new people, I never shared about that because it was kind of the deep, dark secret that I wanted to hide. I put it in a storage unit and
No.
like I never entered there again because it was too raw, too painful. But then luckily I've had spiritual teachers who started to give me some keys how to start processing and working through those memories. Because I don't know about you, but I have tried to like swipe them away, ignore them, all that thing, but they didn't go away. It's like having a beach ball and you try to push it underwater and it keeps bouncing back up. So
That's
it
a
took
good
a
one.
lot of energy.
Yeah, the journey, it's never ending, right? The work is always there. And maybe for that one story you've healed it, but then there's gonna be other parts that always keep coming. And I find that the second we think that we're through it, then something comes and reminds us, no, no, you still have to keep doing the work.
Because there is different layers, and often I hear from my clients as well, like, but I have worked on this so much, like I have, and they have done a lot of work. But what I discovered as well, and that's what I have in my book, Your Spiritual Curriculum, is like if we just do the healing on the mental or the emotional or the physical level, we keep going around. But what helped me is to see this whole journey from soul's perspective, and that brought me the peace, and that helped me then to have that emotional freedom. And I think that's something we seek, like that the past doesn't hold us prisoners, because I was there for years, and that was a quite painful place to be, to be honest. Like having these memories coming back again and again and again and going through, because when we have these memories coming back, our body reacts to them as it's now. It doesn't think like, oh, you're just in the memory lane, I don't need to react to those. It's really feeling into them. So then finding that freedom really has been a super, super important step on my journey.
Yeah, it's a superpower for sure. I'm looking at this picture of the Buddha behind you, and the Four Noble Truths keep coming up in my awareness lately. And so, just for anyone who doesn't know, the Four Noble Truths, the first one is that life, there's suffering. And the second one is the reason there's suffering is because we want things to be different and we're attaching ourselves and we want it, we want that much control. But the third one is that there is a cure for suffering. And the cure for suffering is the fourth one, but it's called the Eightfold Path. So I'm not going to go through the Eightfold Path now, but we all do it. We've been doing it, maybe not even noticing. And so if that pulls on you or resonates with you at all, go explore the Eightfold Path or the Four Noble Truths.
Yeah, and it's so funny you brought that up. Like we are totally connected here because that was one of my beginning journey. Like I found the Buddhist teachings, we had gone through those at school and during a class, and what resonated with me the most, and I totally misinterpreted because I didn't get the other steps, but there was this life is suffering. And I was like, finally, somebody gets me. Like they get it. Like life is suffering. That's what I was experiencing. And that helped me as well to start studying, like learning more about, and then like, yeah, realizing there is more. And that's just the starting point, how we see the life. But it was so like, finally, somebody gets me and puts it out there that that was for the teenage me a big thing. Like, and that helped me as well on my journey to find those beautiful, beautiful Buddhist teachings.
Yeah, that's a good word. They are beautiful teachings. Something pulls at me with Buddhism for sure all the time. Like everything I see or read about it, I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense. But
Mm.
maybe we should go from the past into the present and kind of I listed your credentials, which are really fascinating to me, but you want to talk about some of the things you do and I don't know if you have like a favorite or I'm sure they're all depending on the client, but yeah.
They They are depending on the clients a lot. I'm very spirit guided when I work as a spiritual counselor with the clients. And I mainly will help people who have gone through challenging life experience. Like they are the wounded healers who have a calling to help others. But then sometimes they are stuck, like I was on my journey. So then like I help them to shift the perspective, rewrite that inner story that we might have still from the past. And often those stories that we tell ourselves, they are limiting and they are holding us back from really tapping into our full potential.
And they're not even true, right?
Not necessarily. So it's how we tell the story. And if we tell the story enough many times, that's how we like create limiting beliefs. Because the beliefs come and they are true for us because we believe in those. But then there is a way to start seeing that we can't change the past, but we can change how we see it. And are we seeing ourselves as the victim of the story or the hero of our story? So it is these little things, it's just changing the perspective that can change everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and now I have the book as well, and there I share 5 steps that helps on that journey. There is a lot more as well, but it is a like step by step journey how we can do it. And these are things that I found through my healing journey, through my learning journey as I studied for those masters and the doctorate. And I found ways how we can start tapping into that soul's wisdom. Because I believe that that is really a key thing for us. It is paying attention on this physical level. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, even maybe now you can check in if you have gone through challenging life experience. So, what are your thoughts? What's the recurring thought in your mind about you or about the situation? And then you might check in when you bring forward that thought. What's happening in your body? Let's check in. How do you feel? Is there some areas in your body that are calling your attention? Maybe you start feeling something in your throat, so you feel I can't talk. Or solar plexus, often I carry fear in my solar plexus, like, ooh, I can feel it getting tense or hard, whatever that is. But checking in, because these places are just calling your attention. They are calling you to send them some love and working through them, like taking them, like opening the storage unit that I talked about, where we have stored all these things we don't want to look into, but they are still there. We have stored them somewhere in our body. So now we are just gently working through them, feeling them. And then it's kind of taking as well look into the actions or non-actions. What do we do or don't do? And this is often, I work with many entrepreneurs, spiritual entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers, and they have this calling in their heart. But then something is stopping them to taking the action, doing that Facebook Live or reaching out to the potential client. So then it's like, okay, let's work on that. Like, what's there? And then the key here, though, and this is something that is often missed, is starting to tap into that spiritual perspective, what I call like this soul's wisdom. Like, what are you learning through all this in a positive sense? I think that's the huge thing to add, in a positive sense, because when you tap into that learning, when you tap into that lesson, that's when you start seeing everything from different perspective. And I guide that more detailed in the book. But like it is really, really even now starting asking like, what am I learning on my journey? What's the biggest learning? Yeah. So that
why does that keep coming back again and again and again?
Well, that's what we call karma. I call karma as a really patient teacher. It's like, not to worry, here you go again. Opportunity number, whatever, but here you go. You can learn again. So and when we, even sometimes when it comes to karma, it's a very complex, as one of my teachers says. But when we have the awareness of what we are learning, then we can navigate through, even if the situation comes again, we can navigate through that with greater ease because we are aware. We are like, okay, I got this now. Okay, I can make these choices, and maybe you are choosing something different. That's often the key as well. Like we have that opportunity to choose.
Yeah. I'm happy I understand what you're saying, because maybe 3-4 years ago I wouldn't have had a clue. Like, but now I see the patterns reemerging and I'm like, what am I supposed to learn right now? What's going on here? Just having that awareness that you can see it, that it's just keep coming back. It's like, okay, I'm not past this part of it yet, because otherwise it wouldn't just keep coming back, right? Eventually we can dissolve certain patterns.
Absolutely. And you're bringing a really good point, because sometimes on the learning journey as well, sometimes we can't see these things. And that's why it's really helpful to have somebody else. Like I always say like, I just hold a lantern for my clients so they can see. Like if you're entering to a dark room and you don't know where the light switch is, you might stumble. There are all these things, Legos on the floor, and it hurts when you step on those things. But then when you put the light on, then all of a sudden, there it is. I can step over it. I don't need to step on it. And that's when we start turning those stumbling blocks into stepping stones. And we are like learning through it. But often it is so helpful if we have somebody else holding the light for us, holding the space for us. Because why this is key? Because we are trained not to go to places that hurt. Like maybe you as well, like when you were growing up, they told you not to touch a hot stove, and hopefully you listened, but most likely there was a time when you touched it because you just wanted to know how does that feel? It was new thing. And then after that, you pulled your hand away because it hurt, and then you knew not to touch it again, as if possible, because you knew it's painful. And that's what's happening for us as well. Like I did not want to go to that storage unit because that was painful. So having somebody else then supporting really was a game changer.
Yeah.
And I'm real advocate now for support, because for so many years I felt like I got to handle this on my own. And you can, but it's a slow road. So
Yeah,
it's faster when you have support.
much faster with a coach or a spiritual guide. I love the metaphor you keep talking about, the thing. I did a speech you reminded me of, and it was about limiting beliefs, and like the garage or the storage unit. It might be filled with all boxes and stuff you haven't seen in 20 years. And in order to have the dream life or the real life that you want, you might have to get rid of some of those boxes to make room, right? So if I have a garage outside filled with junk and boxes that don't serve me at all, but I want to put a Ferrari inside there, I'm going to have to remove some of the boxes in order to put that there.
Yeah. And that's just brings again, the freedom. That brings the lightness into your life. Because it starts getting heavy when we have all those boxes there. And also, maybe some of you might have noticed, then all of a sudden, like you might really explode about a small thing. Because why? Because you have all that package from the past. It's not about the thing, but that was just the last drop.
Right.
And you, oof, and then you're like, what happened there? Like, it wasn't a big deal, but you had all that storage unit full. So it just could handle more.
Yeah. I love this conversation. I think sometimes, not necessarily exploding, sometimes it happens, but also just feeling down, sad, like that thought pattern. But I also notice that usually when those happen, those low points, that right after comes something awesome. And so now I'm at a point where when these things happen, I'm kind of like, okay, I just have to sit here and wait a little bit or whatever, and
Oh,
things will get better, right? Get in the gap almost.
yeah, it's almost like there is this. I remember the picture like being in a mine and like digging for gold, and it's just so close. But if you don't see, you might give up and like, oh, it's not there, but it can be really close. And that's also like I love like sometimes we just need to sit through a moment and also recognizing that we are so much more than our thoughts, so much more than our emotions, so much more than our like actions. Like there is the divine light within us. And I get it. Like when we go through challenging times, we might even forget. Like it might feel like somebody put blanket around you and there is no light, but the light is always there. It never leaves you. And it is just for us to see it again.
Wow. Right before we jumped on here, I was talking to someone who said they can't see any light anywhere around them. And I said, it's because you're looking around you. You're the light. Like the light is you. You're looking outside for light. Um, just crazy. I think I have a ton of questions and I know we're not going to get to all of them, but like, what would someone start with? Like maybe a daily practice, something small to start moving the needle towards their own spiritual journey. For me, I know the reason I'm asking, I know obviously awareness is the first thing. We have to be aware or else you can't do it. But after that, what would it be? Something you could, some little tip or trick that you use to start it?
Yeah, I love that you shared awareness is the key. That's exactly what I share as well. And how do you get then like aware? That's the then next thing. Like, okay, great, you're talking about being aware. So what do I do to get that awareness? So it might be even just observing your thoughts, observing your feelings. It's because that way you start noticing the things, what's happening within you when you are going through this journey we call life. And you might even write them down. Like during my doctorate studies, we did tracking. Like we actually tracked down every day. So I did
Wow.
tracking like every day, noting things down because our mind is a slippery slope. We might forget like things and we just remember the absolute highs and absolute lows and the middle part, not so much. So you might start tracking those things down. And just also another thing, a bonus thing is checking also what brings you joy. So
Great.
especially when you are in a dark place, and I know I've been there, like nothing brings me joy. But then I would just question, is that really true? Like checking into those little moments, it doesn't need to be this huge thing, but maybe it is sunshine. Maybe it is having a conversation with a friend, like just checking into those little things. And the more you pay attention to those, the more you start seeing them. Because where you put your attention, that grows. So instead of focusing on the suffering, and I have done that for years, shifting the focus to the joy. And little
Yeah.
by little, you start seeing them more.
Yeah, what we focus on expands, right? So,
Right.
one thing that I want people to get, maybe rewind that little part, but you said about when we're checking the thoughts, you said it was subtle, so people might have missed it, but you said, are they true? Because
Mhm.
like we have two types of thoughts, right? Intentional thought at 6 o'clock, I have to make dinner. This is what I'm going to make for dinner. Intentional thought. But then you just have thoughts that are unintentional that just come up and you can't decide for them not to come up, but you can decide, is that true? Or, hey, that's a thought I have. Where does that thought come from? Oh, wait, my mom used to say that when I was 5 because of a whole other situation that's not here in the present moment. And I'm just carrying this thing forward and projecting it somewhere else.
Yeah. And sometimes it's helpful to write those things down Because we might say to ourselves things that we would never ever say to anybody else. So that's kind of like, okay, if I say to this thing to myself, and especially when we feel low, like
Right.
that's moments when we can be really harsh. And does that help us? That's the moment when we just would need somebody to say, I love you, I appreciate you, I support you. But we are like, oh, you did this wrong or that wrong, or whatever that language is within you. But like writing those things down, because why? Because then you can choose. You have a choice. Okay, now I'm aware. This is the thought I have. But what would I really like to say to myself and put it in the positive tense? And then you can choose. Okay, I actually want to change this sentence to this. And then you can play a game, like catch yourself saying the old one. And anytime you catch yourself, you can always change it to the new thought. And it's takes some time and practice, but you can reward yourself, like whatever the reward is, happy dance, but like just giving something for you, recognizing your effort. Because my spiritual teacher says that all you need really is the willingness to do. That gives you the ability to do. So if you have the willingness within you, you can change your thoughts and you really can step into that more purposeful, purpose-driven life.
Right. That's like intention, right? Being intentional about what you want. I want to know more about your book. You said there's 5 steps, but what's it called? Your spiritual curriculum?
Yes, your spiritual curriculum, 5 steps to 5 steps to claim freedom from your past and transform your future. So it's really giving you the option to follow these steps and start rewriting those stories so that you can make peace with your past and you can really create that freedom in your future, because your past does not need to define your future. But then this book will help you step by step to rewrite those stories we carry. And that way you can write a new story for you.
Amazing. How about energy work? Can you tell us a bit more about the different, there was a bunch of modalities, but what kind of energy work do you seem to use the most often, or is there one that trumps all the other ones?
So what I love to do often is I do my meditations through prayer, because I believe there is lots of spiritual assistance available for us. And I give it to Spirit to do the work. His Spirit does the heavy lifting. I'm there to assist and facilitate. But I believe that it is the Spirit who knows what can be uplifted from the person for the highest good. So that's the energy work I more do, like working with the Spirit, working with the guidance, and helping people, whether it is on the whatever level there is the block. I can help you to clarify where the block is and then do the spiritual healing to clear that block, so that there is, again, clearing the path for you so that you can move forward.
Is this like just God or spirit just coming through you, or is this like Akashic records where you're tapping in and finding stuff, or?
It's little bit combination, and I believe the Spirit works through the person. I'm there, of course, to facilitate, but I don't claim that like it's coming through. But where I'm normally tapping, it's actually a higher records, knuckle records that are above Akashic. And that's where the soul's learning is recorded. Because I'm often helping the people to get those aha moments and through questions, through like inspiration, to find the lesson they are learning as a soul having this human experience. So that's more the records I'm tapping into and working with the people's, like helping them to uplift their level of awareness to this
It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
So as we begin to wind down, if this episode resonates with you, please like, subscribe, share, and reach out to Dr. Katja. Obviously, you heard at the beginning, her resume is extensive. Now you've heard the conversation. You can see the spiritual aspects. And the book, Your Spiritual Curriculum, is coming out on May 6th.
That's right. It's coming out soon. And of course, it will be available on Amazon. So if you check in and get it, then it is an opportunity for you to just get that wisdom. It's available on paperback as well as ebook. So easy ways for you to get access to the wisdom that I have collected over years.
Yeah, sounds like a long time it took. I think, do you have some Facebook groups, or what are your programs or something like this kind of things? What are you doing? And I think I've seen a couple cool names for your Facebook groups that will definitely resonate with listeners of this show.
So I have a Facebook group called Lightworkers who succeed on purpose. And I started that to create a space for us to have support and like some guidance, inspiration on our path. Because there was a moment when I felt alone, and then like finding connections with others, it's really helping people to have some support, inspiration. You can share your gifts and invitations there too on certain days. So that's definitely available for you if you feel called to join. So Lightworkers who succeed on purpose on Facebook. And then I also do have a program that I share with people who want to dive deeper. It's called Bounce Back and Beyond. And there we do it. It's a workshop style program. It's a 33-day journey where we dive into transforming one of those stories that are holding you back. So first you will discover what the story is, and then together we will be rewriting it. And that is a really an energetic container for you as well to have the support to dive even deeper. So that's the program I'm running, and love supporting people because it's amazing what the collective energy as well can do when we realize that we are now here on our own. We have support available, and hearing other stories too sometimes can bring the aha moments, because sometimes we are so close to our own story that it's sometimes even harder to see. But then when we hear somebody else, it's kind of like, now I get it. Now I can see, now I can see this connection. I love helping people to connect the dots because I have a very active mind. So I love this, okay, now I get it. Now I see why. And I can now have that peace within me.
Yeah, that sounds super empowering. Something special about groups, right? Once somebody goes and becomes vulnerable, it's like permission for everyone else in the group to do the same. And then on top of like what you're saying, the aha parts, there's other parts where people will share and it's like, oh man, somebody else is going through the same thing. I didn't know. I thought I was alone, and well, somebody's doing it and I'm not alone here.
Exactly. It's so supportive to have that journey that we walk together, because it is really, we are not here alone, but we sometimes fall into, and I was there as well, thinking I'm the only one. And when I have started to share about the loss that I went through, often, like you said, it often opens the door for others to share too. And I have found so many people who have, unfortunately, lost their loved one as well. And it's kind of like they have had the courage then to share as I have shared. So that's one of the reasons that I want to share my story now, because the silence kills us. We
Right.
need to find a way to be able to express in a non-judgmental environment and have the support and encouragement to continue our journey here.
100% I agree. I have 3 more questions and we're
Right,
running
let's
up.
go. Let's
Okay,
go.
this is the Phase 4 podcast, and Phase 4 in the 6 phase meditation by Vishen Lakhiani is all about creating your future 3 years out. So where is Dr. Katya 3 years from today?
I love that question. It allows me to dream. So one of the things that have been coming up for me more and more is that I want to be speaking, which is really interesting since I was super shy when I was a child. And I have the calling to speak as I have now the book coming out. I really feel that I want to be on stage talking, sharing the journey, inspiring others. And I'm dreaming about doing retreats. I come from Finland, and that is a country where there is a lot of beauty in the nature. There's a lot of this healing nature, healing silence in the nature. So that's something I dream about, doing a retreat and bringing people all over the world, even though now I'm living in Spain, but like going to my home country and leading a retreat there for healing and transformation. So that's something I'm dreaming of, and hopefully in 3 years' time, it is happening.
Amazing. Yes, thank you for that. I love that question. Then before I ask my final question, I always let the guests just take it away wherever they want. So like you kind of did it, but maybe there's more. If you have something to sell, sell it. If you have a message of hope or inspiration, or if you want to package it all together, go ahead.
All right. So, what I want to really bring home as a message that your past does not need to equal your future. Like, really, truly, whatever you have gone through, just know that it does not need to mean that this is where you stay. Because you are here. If you are tuning into this podcast, I'm sure you have a calling in your heart. And whether you're fully aware of it or not, it's there. And it is time for you to share those beautiful gifts you have. It's time for you to clear that path so you can step into the power that is within you. It's already there. But it is time for you to allow yourself to shine and share your gifts and really succeed on purpose. And if you need support on that journey, reach out to me or at least get that book. And if you know somebody who might benefit, give them the book, give them the gift. Like, okay, or maybe you do it together. Let's explore our spiritual curriculum. What are we learning here in the Earth School? Because that will change your life. I tell you that. So hopefully, and reach out to me. I always love to hear. If you get the book, read the book. If you have any questions, reach out. I'd love to support you on that journey and share more.
Amazing. My final question is, how can people reach out and connect with you?
Yes. So hopefully you put it on the show notes because my name is from Finland. So my email is katja@katjarusanen.com and my website is katjarusanen.com, KATJARUSAN and .com. And you find me in almost all social media platforms with my name, Dr. Katja Rusanen. So feel free to connect. Love to hear from you and love the connection. And I have loved and enjoyed this conversation, and hopefully it has inspired your audience. So thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm grateful. I got 11 more questions, but we're out of time. So thank you so much. This was really fun and definitely aligned.
Until next episode, like I can come back again and answer those 11 questions if you wish.
Okay, Katja. Bye.